It's time for Tuesday's edition of Elko Live, our weekday radio show, and we're so pleased to feature our city manager, Jan Baum, in studio today in advance of a jam-packed agenda. Jan, it's almost like what isn't on the agenda today?
It's a busy agenda. You're right.
Well, that just means that there's a lot going on. We have a lot to look forward to. This is a busy time of year, and I know it starts with the RDA. Thank you for sending our city planner and new development manager yesterday. Of course, Ralph and Kathy did an excellent job explaining, some of the goals for the RDA in today's meeting.
Oh, wonderful. Yes. So they have a really exciting project on the agenda today, and I'm sure they gave great detail on exactly what that project is, and it's got quite a price tag on it, but I think it'll really benefit the downtown business and businesses and just the overall look of so I think it'll be a great project.
It'll be an excellent project, as you said, improving the aesthetic and the safety, certainly with the sidewalks and all the infrastructure. And I know she's ready to make her presentation about whether or not, property owners, they will participate or to how much. We know this work could start as early as this spring.
Yes, I believe so. I believe if the RDA approves the project, then construction will likely begin with this construction season and hopefully be finished by September or October.
Wow, that's great. And we'll be talking a lot more about it if that's what starts to unfold, Jan, because I know Planning Department is really hoping for lots of public communications so that it doesn't inconvenience property owners, any more than, we know it will be inconvenient, but the end result should be fantastic. So
absolutely. I think that we need to have a lot of transparency and some workshops and meetings with the business owners to make sure that, we can at least minimize the impact to them. Like you said, I think there's no way to not impact them, but I think in the bigger picture and in the long run, it will really benefit the businesses. So we'll just have to really get in front of that if the RDA approves that, get in front of that and make sure that we have some communication right from the get-go.
All right, tops on the agenda, right? RDA 3:30 or 3 today? I think it's at 3.
I thought it was at 3.
Yeah, I think you're right, because there are a lot of topics to discuss, I think, today's.
Right, in this project, I'm sure we'll take some discussion and some, so I think, which is great.
Yeah, 3 o'clock today, RDA in the same place as City Council. The buck stops with the RDA. They'll be making those decisions. They're members of the Elko City Council. And then and they'll be talking about creating maybe a general or a special improvement district.
Yes. Yeah. So a special improvement district, what that would be is the businesses would participate in some of the cost of the project or projects that go on in the RDA, and when they benefit from it. And I don't know, it'll be something that they debate and talk about. The businesses, like we said, will already be impacted by a construction project like this, and then to ask for financial, for financial participation as well might be a big ask on the businesses, but for sure we need to research it and see if that's the best thing or not the best thing for the RDA.
And for the record, too, our city planner, Kathy Laughlin, did say that she is definitely encouraging, city leadership to, adopt the project, to assume as much responsibility financially, on behalf of the city, after talking to a lot of property owners, because as you just explained, it's a big burden going forward and it could impact their businesses over the summer.
Absolutely. And really that is why the RDA was put into place, is to do some of these projects, and they have gained and accumulated some cash in their fund, and they have the money to do it. It could be a little bit tight with the big price tag, but they do have the funds, and so hopefully they can go forward with that project.
Yeah, they've inherited a lot of aging infrastructure, and they put money into their own properties and really built up some of these beautiful old buildings, but it does require that kind of financial commitment. So it's understandable.
Absolutely. And this RDA project downtown, it's not only sidewalks and aesthetic improvements, it's also water lines, and it has a lot of construction portions of it, and that's why the price tag is so high.
Speaking of water, I know that is included. That's one of the big discussions that will happen today, Jan, and it is on the agenda. If we pick it a little bit out of order, just so we make sure we get to all the big things. Yeah. The City of Elko Utilities water rate increases, that is on the agenda, and that could be potentially moving forward with that.
Yes, so this will be the third meeting that we've visited about the water rate and modernization study that was done by the Spiegler Group. And and so the first item will be the modernization of the water system throughout the city. And the main impact to residents would be the deployment of meters throughout the city. And obviously this would take years to finish, but ultimately it would be a positive impact for the city of Elko and for the residents. And then you have the people who are using the water paying for the water use. And we have a lot of analysis that has gone on with these presentations that Spiegler has done. And the presentation today is primarily by the city of Elko and the director, the utility director, asking council for direction based on the presentations that Spiegler has done recently in the last couple months. So anyway.
Yeah, it's definitely something that should be considered going forward. It is being seriously considered, obviously, the flat rate versus the metered rate. The water fund is being negatively impacted more than $2 million a year because of higher usage and lower revenue associated with flat rate customers. So just putting it in perspective, maybe you're a retired couple and you live in a neighborhood and you don't use as much water as your next door neighbors, and they've got 5 kids, and you love having 5 kids in your neighborhood. But the fact is that more water is generated, and they pay a flat rate as well. So it's not an evenly distributed burden, I guess, in that sense.
Absolutely, exactly. So, and on top of that, the City of Elko Utility Department doesn't have a way to monitor that either. Or if, in your example, if one of those neighbors has a water leak and they're on a meter, then we know that there's a water leak, and we can we can go in there and try to help them correct that water leak. If they're on a flat rate, we don't have any way to detect the water loss, and that's important, especially in today's society and with water, being a real issue and discussion point throughout the state. We need to be able to monitor our, like what they call it, non-revenue water. So water leaks and things like that. If we have meters out there, we can definitely be more proactive on fixing the leaks.
We do live in the high desert, and as the study indicates, once the water rates are updated, Elko will still maintain the lowest cost for both residential and commercial customers, Jan.
Right. There's a chart in the presentation, and this was a chart that was taken from the Spiegler presentation earlier, but it has a comparable of the City of Elko water rates currently, and then if there was, and the example they used in the chart, and it doesn't mean that that's what is going to happen, but it is the example. If there was a 30% increase to the flat rate and or the metered rate, it still shows that the City of Elko is much lower than a lot of our neighbors. And so, it is lower than most of our neighbors. It's on the chart. So even with a 30% increase, both our residential and our commercial customers will be paying less than a lot of our neighbors.
All right, so that'll be up for discussion. City Council's likely to take some action moving forward on that. And it's also important to note that, isn't it true, Jan, that we're the last in the state to go on meters?
Well, Dale Johnson, our utility director, took a lot of time, and he researched this for entities all over the state. And in the presentation is a list of entities that already have either 100% metered communities, or they're on their way to 100% metered communities, or they have a plan to get there. And yes, we are one of the last communities that doesn't have that plan in place. And in addition to the positive impacts, both financially and with conservation of water, it will also help us comply with some of the state of Nevada requirements that we monitor our water loss and have a way to conserve water. It's called a conservation plan, and these are things that they're asking for, and right now we can't produce those.
All right, Jan Baum is our Elko City Manager. Water rate possible increase modernization plan that will be discussed and likely voted on during today's meeting. We can also back up a bit and talk about the budget because this is also really informative. A great budget presentation is planned, Jan, and I'm sure you want to hit some of the highlights, being that this used to be your baby.
Right, for sure. So Julie Davis is our new Financial Services Director, and she has prepared and will present this presentation, and it's a budget workshop that we are just asking council for some direction, and if they're not ready to give direction yet, that's okay as well, but these are just items that there's some items that we're looking at as we go through the preparation of the budget. Next meeting we'll have the enterprise funds, but this meeting it's for the governmental and the general fund, and so some of the items that we will be asking council for some direction on is usually in the budget for non-represented employees, the council gives direction on a COLA increase or no COLA increase for non-represented employees. The CPI as of January 31st, 2024 was 3.1%. So based on that, we will be asking council for some direction on a possible COLA. And then we've been talking a little bit about the Flight Alliance of Northeastern Nevada, FAN. It has been formed, and that organization will begin taking over, paying the MRG to maintain SkyWest coming in and maintain commercial air service coming into Elko Regional Airport. And that organization will be made up of both public and private partnership of different organizations in our community. And we have the city of Elko about 2 years ago allocated some of our recreation, our hotelier tax to Air Alliance. And in addition to that, we will be asking council if they will also contribute or agree to another $125,000 in membership fees. And primarily the reason behind this is because last year the county, they said that they would commit $500,000, and so with the recreation tax as well as this membership fee, the city would be matching that $500,000 that the county is committed as well. And then there's a revenue item in our budget that's called the Ground Emergency Medical Transport revenue, and what that is it's a reimbursement from the Medicare system to reimburse our fire department when they make transports to the hospital. And so a few years ago when the fire department implemented this program and were able to get reimbursed for this, council made a motion to commit 50% of that revenue to a line item within the fire department budget for EMT related services. And then 50% was absorbed into the general fund budget. And after we've done that for a couple years, we've noticed that sometimes it's so much that the fire department can't spend it, and they're spending it, which it would be better used if it would maybe go to the capital equipment fund and then build up, and so that eventually they would have enough for their large equipment, because their equipment is very expensive. And so we're proposing that change to council, and if they agree with that, we'll build the budget that way, and if they do not, we'll just build it the way that we have been building it. And then we would like some direction from council for capital purchases, both in the capital construction fund and the facility fund. And the capital construction fund, the fund balance is starting to grow, and so we're hoping that at least the council can have on their radar that if there was a time when Union Pacific was willing to sell us their easement, then we would have the cash to purchase that. And then a couple other items in the facility fund that we would like direction from the council on is a proposal for a fire department annex, or not fire department, a police department annex. Fire department site selection and preliminary design, and then city hall site selection and preliminary design as well.
All right, so these are all considerations the council will be discussing. It's about planning for the future, and capital refers to usually bricks and mortar, building projects, things that need to be done, whether expansion or new construction.
Yes, and it's hard to make decisions unless those designs are made or those site selections are made. And so as I've been in this position a little longer, I'm learning that shovel-ready concept. And if things aren't, if major construction is not designed and you don't know how much it's going to cost, it's difficult for council to make decisions in the future. So it would be good to get some of those items accomplished.
Yeah, it also helps flip the switch on some of the state or federal funding that we can get too. So
right,
good.
Yeah, it's difficult to put in for grant requests if you don't know if you don't have it designed or don't know how much the project will cost.
And just one more note, too. We want to make sure listeners are aware the Union Pacific easement purchase, to be clear, is it the Manzanita or the West Main Street properties, or is it?
Well, we would love to have all of it, and but we need to visit with Union Pacific and see what they're willing to sell and what the price tag would be, and then go forward with that, because we aren't really sure. That isn't pinpointed yet. It's been in negotiations, I think, for a few years at least, and we just kind of brought that back into discussions with them, and hopefully we hear from them shortly and we can come to a price. But with that easement also comes a federal lands bill, and it'll be quite a process. I'll learn a lot during that for sure. And the timing of the purchase and the timing of the cash exchange, whether it's before the federal lands bill goes through or after, there's a lot of different moving parts to it.
All right, so something that's, as you said, a lot of moving parts. Congressman Amadei's office has been working on this for more than a decade. I think you're right, Jan. It's definitely been on the table, or at least in the drawer, and could be ready to come out. And then that would also free up a lot more property, which could be valued at current market rate, sold to the people who have buildings. They'd be inspired to improve those properties, and then the city could work on some maintenance, road building, sidewalks, that kind of thing.
Exactly. Yeah. If we could tie in Silver Street to Manzanita, that would be a great advantage, or a great improvement for the city of Elko and our residents and the businesses down there. With Sandvik building down there, that'd be a great connection right there. And there's so many positive things that could happen with that if the city of Elko could get that. So, and like you said, just selling the land back into private hands, and the businesses or individuals who have buildings on that land, and then they can own their land as well as their building, and that would be a great positive change.
And also, in addition to some of those historic Elko properties there, just west of the corridor. So
absolutely, exactly.
Well, unless there are other highlights, I mean, the budget. If you're kind of a nerd, like I guess Jan and I were talking, I like this stuff, and so you can find this complete presentation online. It's really easy to read. I think you'll have a greater appreciation for how far your property tax goes, because there's even a nice breakdown in here. I noticed this time, Jan, whether or not it was always there, but certainly how much the property owners pay in their taxes based on valuation, and where that goes, how that money circulates. That's really informative.
Absolutely. And one of the items that shows on here is that the assessed value of the property within the city has increased almost 10%. But of course, most of that is abated because the increases in assessed value are either capped at 3% or 8% for businesses, and so there's an abatement with that as well. But you're right, it gives a good explanation, and so if people want to walk through that, most definitely do, or they can attend the meeting in person, or we have an online remote possibility for people to listen or watch the meeting as well at elkocity.gov.
Yep, it's a great way.
elkocity.com.
Oh, Elko City. Oh, I do the same thing, Jan. It'll get you there, but elkocity.com, and you can see that budget presentation. It's near the top of the agenda. No action on this one. The budget is due on April 9th, so going forward, right?
Yes,
Okay.
just some direction from council, and yes, they won't be accepting the budget yet, just maybe giving direction to staff on budget considerations.
All right. So then I know we've jumped around a little bit on the agenda, Jan, but I wanted to make sure we got some of those big items. Oh, yes. And then if we can get to, because people are excited and they want to know more about the pool. We were hoping there might be a groundbreaking sometime this spring, an update on the Boys and Girls Club's Recreation Center. That includes the city swimming pool, the whole aquatics and recreation center attached.
Exactly. I think the whole community is excited about this project. The city is excited about this project. I know that Nikki at the pool is excited about this project because we're continuing to limp along the pool and making sure that it stays open for our residents. But yes, we're excited to get an update from the Boys and Girls Club on exactly where they are with this project and when the groundbreaking will be and how, if it's changed or if it's the same. And I think on the agenda item it does say that the Boys and Girls Club, we're probably going to ask the City of Elko for some participation with the project, whether it be monetary or with construction. And I'm not sure if that will still happen, but at least we'll get an update on the project. So I think that'll be great for everybody to hear where we are with it.
All right.
It's been a little bit.
Yeah, so they've had the winter to work on it, and I know they're ready to go. And this is one of the design build projects, and one of the reasons that the city has opted to go in this direction, Jan, is because without having to pay the prevailing wage that any city projects would have to pay, it saves literally millions of dollars, and they can invest it into the actual construction.
Right, the Boys and Girls Club can, yes. So I hope that works out for them, and I think it'll be an amazing project for our residents and just the community as a whole. It won't just be the City of Elko that benefits from this facility. I believe it's going to have a gymnasium and a couple pools, actually. I believe some for like a swim team, with lap swimming and things like that, and then open swim as well, and a kiddie pool, and hopefully an outdoor pool. And then what I'm really excited about, because of course I think it'll be great to have a teen center in there and a great place for our teens to come hang out and do some positive things in our community as well. So I think that it'll have a great impact on our community, and I'm excited to see it.
All right, so look for that on this afternoon's agenda, the updated Boys and Girls Club's presentation, and it does suggest that there's a request for a monetary contribution or a construction participation, but as our city manager, Jan Baum, explained, that may be walked back a bit, so we should get the full details on what that's about during today's meeting. So.
Yes, and like you said, we don't have a presentation yet, so I think it'll come when, I believe it'll be Rusty Barr that presents, either he or Casey Gallagher, and when they come and present, we'll obviously include that presentation in the minutes after the meeting.
That sounds great. So look forward to that. Again, follow along in person at City Hall or online, elkocity.com. We should probably jump over to, before we close out, because now people are scratching their heads saying, we thought the Elko Inn was doing well, with the abatements, but this police department conducted a raid, arrested at least one suspect, and removed some property there related to, allegedly, to the drug trade. So still some grave concerns about this public nuisance.
Absolutely. It is, it's very concerning, especially for the residents and the businesses that are very close to that address at 837 Court Street?
Or Idaho Street?
Idaho Street, Court Street. And so anyway, it's just so disappointing. And so the council had originally ordered the 837 Ville, who are the owners of the property, to abate the nuisance. And in that original abatement order included, amongst other things, security cameras and fencing up the property, but also mainly the main item of conversation was the 24/7 security services that were part of the order. And so later, and I don't have the exact dates, but down the road, the council did work with the property owners, and because they felt that the 24/7 security services were, the cost behind it seemed to be a little bit steep. So they allowed the property owner to have their property management firm perform their security services. Well, that didn't work out so well, and with the raid, I believe somebody who was on the property as a security person was arrested, and so I believe the council will likely go back to the original order, and but we'll see. There'll be definitely be some conversation behind the Elko Inn and how to go forward with that, and I believe Dave Stanton will have some recommendations for the council as well on how to go forward. So anyway, we need to do our best to work with the property owner, but at the same time, we absolutely need to protect and our citizens and our business owners. And so it'll be a discussion for council for sure.
All right, Jan. And I guess the last thing in closing, it looks as though city officials might be going back to tabletop, what turned out to be, fortunately no injuries in that derailment, but very serious concern with the traffic delays that were caused. And then now people are talking about a secondary access between Elko and Spring Creek again. So there's some evaluation going on.
Yes, with the county, I believe, and yes, I believe they are going to hire. That was on their meeting last week, and they are going to hire a consulting firm to go over different options or different accesses to get to Spring Creek. And I just wanted to mention, with the ARPA funds, the City of Elko does have a plan to at least begin the Eric Hart Boulevard, which would not only provide an access. It isn't another route across the river. It would just be a diversion around the hospital. We are doing that with a water line, and it'll go about 2/3 of the way. And but because of funding, that's about the whole way that we'll be able to go. But yeah, I understand that it's a concern for residents out in Spring Creek, and I absolutely understand that concern and the inconvenience. We were all very thankful that the derailment did not cause any environmental concerns or injuries, which actually could have made the that commute much worse or extended it by days. And so one morning of a bad commute, and I understand that going home it was probably not a great commute either, because many people left early so that they could get over early, and then the bridge did open about 4:15, but I think there was quite a traffic jam before that. But anyway, I think that we really diverted a disaster, but you're right. There's going to be some round tables going on and some conversations, and we just really visited about it for quite a while in our directors meeting this morning, and different things that we can start planning for.
Good. Just wanted to reassure the community that, yes, it was a very serious incident, but as you said, we're just so fortunate that nobody was injured. And no, it was a train derailment. It was corn. It could have been anything, honestly. And this will help the city prepare for, I understand, 12th Street Bridge will be in need of some maintenance. So
yes, and in fact, that's in our budget that will be presented. In the Capital Construction Fund, it is. We were already planning this, but the 12th Street Bridge does need some maintenance, and so we are going to do our try our hardest to make sure that we don't close that bridge, and if we do, it'll be the middle of the night, but there will be some construction on it this summer, and so for sure that the derailment is on our mind, and it'll be a good learning opportunity for us to go forward.
All right, Jan. I guess the last thing we want to do is make sure people know about all these cool job opportunities.
Thank you for the reminder. Yes, of course. So it's the season. 'Tis the season. So we're headed into spring, which means there's a lot of our seasonal openings, the golf course, the parks department, things like that, at the pool for lifeguards. So be sure to look on our website, elkocity.com, and under Human Resources. And I think on the first page there's a link right there to apply for any of our positions. We have a lot of seasonal positions that just opened, and those are fun. Those are great positions. And then the other position that we have open are patrol officers, and we have just the most professional police department, and they're just a great group, and if you have anybody that's interested in being a patrol officer, please have them apply.
All right. If you're awesome, they're looking for you.
That's right. If you're awesome.
All right. Jan Baum is our city manager. RDA meeting starts things off at 3 o'clock at City Hall, followed by the regular city council meeting. Again, there's a ton on the agenda. Oh, and I just want to say, too, I forgot to mention, but Sharon Owen is the applicant for the vacancy on the City of Elko Arts and Culture Advisory Board, and she's just a lovely human, and it would be a wonderful addition to find her there. So.
Oh, that'll be wonderful, and I'm sure council will gladly accept her application and request to be on the board, and it'll be nice to have that board full and fully staffed.
Yep, a lot to look forward to. Thanks again, listeners, for joining us for today's Elko Live. Thank you, Jan Baum, our Elko City Manager, for being on the program.
Thank you, Lori.